Hello and welcome to this review of the Fimi Palm gimbal camera. So first of all, what comes in the box? Well, all that comes in the box is the Fimi Palm itself, complete with protective cover and this very small USB-C cable. That's it, that's all that comes in the box. So I'm going to turn this on now, but I just press and hold this button here, this red button, and it boots up and the gimbal sorts itself out and it's on. So I've updated the most recent firmware at the time of doing this review, and I'm using the firmware v1120.02. So you've seen the really basic cover, and initially I was quite disappointed with this, but it's actually quite good. So this part of the gimbal, this arm of the gimbal doesn't move around, and the camera element is protected. So even though it's just a cheap bit of plastic, it does work and it does do what it's supposed to do. We've got a single button here to record, turn on and off. Double tapping this button will center the gimbal, and triple tapping it will reverse the camera. We've got a 5-way joystick, up, right, down, left, and you can click it in as well. I don't know whether you can see it. We've got a microphone here, we've got an LED here. On the bottom we've got this nice rubber matting, although it's starting to pick up dirt, and we've got our USB-C port here. Now the USB-C port is of course used for charging, but you can get adapters that allow you to plug in audio devices. I don't have that yet. Here we have a slot for a lanyard. Here we have where the memory card goes. It takes micro SD. I find it incredibly tricky to get them in and out, but maybe that's just me. On the back we have a tripod socket, and that's about it. So now we're going to have a look at the various different footage types. We're going to look at the footage. I'm just going to be walking on a sunny day. This has been exported at 1080p. Here we have a comparison of the different fields of view. So we've got super scope, ultra wide and narrow. And I think to my eye that super scope is exactly the same as narrow. They've just put crop bars on. So really you've got ultra wide and narrow. I think it's useful to be able to have two different fields of view, and most people are probably going to keep theirs on narrow. So what I've done, I've replaced the Fimi Palm in my Canon 200D or SL2, and I'm going to talk about my B-roll setup. So this is what we do. I tend to take macro shots for my B-roll. So most times you can get away with using a small camera. This is the Ricoh GR3, and what I like about the Ricoh GR3 is it has an excellent macro mode. So the macro mode allows focusing down to 6 centimeters, which is really good. What I like about the Fimi Palm is you can hold it in one hand and you can operate it very easily. Although saying that, you do need 2 hands to take this cover off. So once you've taken this cover off, you can operate it in one hand very easily. So I can walk around with it like this. If I want to do some operations, all I have to do is swipe left or swipe right, just using the touch screen. So it is a touch screen. It's a very small screen, but I don't find it a problem to use. So the modes we've got are, we've got video mode, slow-mo mode, time-lapse mode, photo mode, panorama mode, and then we're back to video. If I want to go into settings, I swipe down. I can go back by swiping up, or I can just click the red button. If we want to change our camera settings for video, we can just press down here and we can adjust the ISO. And if you swipe, you can adjust the white balance. So it gives it Kelvin values, but it also gives it what we're used to, like sunny, fluorescent, tungsten, etc. So an ISO, and it goes from 100 all the way up to 3200. Now you might have noticed when I was doing that, it's a bit hit and miss, it's a bit fiddly. And it is quite fiddly to get the right one using just your thumb or your finger. So if we want to change resolution, all we have to do is tap on the camera icon, and you can see we've got 4K 30, 4K 24, 2.7 60, 2.7 48, 2.7 30, 2.7 24, 1080 60, 1080 48, 1080 30, 1080 30L and 1080 24. Picture quality, we can have fine or superfine, and superfine just gives more detail. Colour, we can have natural or we can have F-Log, and F-Log is just recording in a log profile. Microphone, we can have it on high, low, or we can mute it. So if I go across to camera settings, I can pick between PAL or NTSC. We have various modes for the gimbal, and all we have to do to interact with the menu is touch on it and then swipe to change from the menu. We've got follow for the gimbal, FPV, pitch lock, gimbal lock, and that's it. I tend to keep it in gimbal lock, and I like gimbal lock because it means whatever I do to move it, the camera is always pointing in exactly the same place. So if we go back to our main menu, we've got Wi-Fi here, and what's nice about Wi-Fi is we have 2.4 gigahertz or 5.8 gigahertz. I'm using the 5.8 gigahertz simply because it's quicker. So I'm now going to connect my phone to it. We can start and stop recording. We can change mode just by sliding up. I can click that to recenter the camera. I can use this as a joystick, so I can look up. I can look down, I can look sideways. We have this button that's Pro, and all that Pro does is it allows you to change the ISO and the white balance. I don't see the point turning it off, but it has that option. This option, which you can access in the menu, all it does is it defishes the image. So it's obviously a small camera, it's going to have a little bit of distortion. If you click that, you can defish the image and straighten up. However, it does crop in ever so slightly. You can turn the microphone level off, on, whatever you need to. Here we can change the gimbal mode, so we can change the gimbal mode, and we can change the follow speed and the joystick speed. And again, you can do that in the menu, but it's just maybe a little bit easier to do it on the phone. So my joystick speed was at 10, if I put it to 1, and now I turn it, it turns incredibly slow. And we can change things like exposure, picture quality, the video output, the video codec. One thing I like is you can record in H.264 or H.265, HEVC. We can add a grid if we want to.